Good morning and welcome to Pod Up with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. John Cornell, Shane Matthews on a Thursday edition of the program.
Thursday edition.
After a big Gator win in Athens, Georgia over the Georgia Bulldogs, and they are your second place Florida Gators.
Explain me, is that the tiebreaker, obviously, because they had the same record as LSU and Auburn.
Well, we've beaten both of them.
Well, but LSU's also beaten Florida.
Right.
So
But I think
it has something to do with what? Conference wins, maybe?
I have no idea. They have the same amount of wins in the conference. That's why they're tied.
Well, okay, that doesn't make sense. Yeah.
I don't know what the tiebreaker. Basically,
what do you think it is?
We have to beat
Do you know
Kentucky.
what it
We
is?
beat Kentucky. We're the 2 seed. I'm not sure what happens if we lose. We almost want to be the 2 or the 4 seed.
Right.
You don't want to be the 3 seed because then you're going to
Because then you've got Kentucky again.
Right.
Well, I agree with that. I think that game last night was just tremendous, QB. I guess because not just that they came back from 13 down and everybody was probably throwing in the towel at the time, but because of the way they really shot up that shooting percentage in the second half. And Noah Locke couldn't miss, of course. Johnson was fantastic. We had good defensive pressure on Georgia's offensive end of the court, and I just think that when you take a crowd out of the game, and a team that you're playing against is starting to feel pressure, that's when Florida's at its best. And defensively, I thought it was really well played by the Gators. And Johnson is just, I mean, he's a first-team All-SEC guy. Andy Kennedy said it last night. Would you agree with that? He said he's going to vote for Johnson.
Well,
to be
he
first
should.
team
I don't.
All-SEC.
You got to think about it. They're only picking 5 dudes in the entire conference.
Tough.
It's
tough.
He's our best player. He's our best overall player.
Yeah.
By far.
But he's better when Locke is banging threes, man.
Well, we're a better basketball team when he makes threes. We went 0 for 10 in the first half.
Oh, I know.
From 3-point range.
But it's the same thing that we saw here in Gainesville with Georgia, isn't it? I mean, first half they just couldn't get out of their own way, and then in the second half it was a completely different team. And I don't know what light they switch on at halftime. I don't know. They asked Mike White that after the game. Andy Kennedy said, "What'd you tell these kids at halftime?" And Mike looked at him and said, "Nothing really. They just decided."
No, here's what it is.
I mean, he said something.
Everybody wants these answers of why this happens.
That's what you do when you are
I understand that.
an announcer.
But
you
it's,
ask.
It's sports, okay? Yeah. How many times does a team play great every game for 40 minutes? It never happens at any level.
It's tough.
You go through spurts. Now, we go through spurts where we can't score for 5 to 8 minutes, which just baffles me. But
sure.
Georgia is not a great team. They're an extremely athletic team that likes to get up and down the floor. We slowed the pace, which I thought was smart because we don't have the athleticism to keep up with these guys. And we made shots in the second half. It's that simple. If you make shots, it gives you a chance to win basketball games.
Well, certainly Noah Locke did, and he was hitting those. He hits those back-to-back threes. I think at the 6-minute mark, they went on a 10-point run, unanswered 10-0, and they win the game by 12. Johnson had 18 points. The Gators came back from a 13-point deficit, and they did the same thing against Georgia last month when they came back from a 22-point deficit. So I don't know what it is with Georgia. For some reason, Florida just has their number in the second half, and Georgia fades. So good for the Gators. Big win. You've got them at number 2. I look at the standings on my app here, and it has them at 4.
They're the second. Right now, if the season were to end today, we're the number 2 seed.
And you know that because of a tiebreaker.
Yes.
But you don't know what the tiebreaker is.
No, and I'm not going to sit here and try to figure it out.
But you heard that. That's why you know that.
Multiple people last night
that's
on
good
the
enough
SEC
for me.
network.
That's fine. So you beat Kentucky, and then you are the number 2 seed. And again,
if we lose, I'm not sure. I think it depends on what LSU
Mississippi
and all.
State wins on the weekend, and we lose, and Florida has the same record as Mississippi State. Then do they fall behind and go to the 5?
What is Mississippi State's record? I think we're 2 games ahead.
Okay, well maybe so. Then if
why
that's
don't
the
you
case,
pull
it
that
doesn't
up
matter.
to
I'm
make
going
sure
to
we're
pull it
not
up, but I think Mississippi
misinformation.
State's 1 game behind Florida in the conference.
Also, last night
I don't
on
think I am,
campus,
but I could be.
Gator baseball moves to 12-0. They beat FAMU 5-0.
Yeah.
Softball beats Florida Gulf Coast 3-1. That's what happened on campus last night. Elsewhere around the SEC in basketball, the Arkansas Razorbacks stay in the mix to make the tournament.
Big
99-90 over LSU.
Yeah.
LSU is going in the wrong direction, folks.
Right.
Texas A&M, who, in my opinion, Buzz Williams should be by far, hands down, the coach of the year in the SEC. They beat Auburn, who Auburn was undefeated at home. A&M wins 78-75. Ole Miss beats Missouri 75-67.
So there were some big upsets last night. A lot of basketball played. There were 3 upsets that caught my attention. Of course, that Texas A&M game at Auburn. You just don't go to Auburn and win. And they haven't lost yet this year until last night. So A&M, somehow that team, they in Tennessee, I just don't know right now if those are the kind of teams you want to play, because they are really hot. They're playing as well as anybody in the conference. And so what do we have last night? We had Villanova beating Seton Hall. The Seton Hall team is the 8th ranked team in the country. They were second in the Big East.
Villanova's a team you don't want to see in March.
14th ranked, and Villanova is Villanova. At one point, I think they won, back-to-back championships in basketball. So they've got tradition. They've got a great coach, and certainly they know how to play at the end of the year, even though it's a different team. But there they are, 14th ranked team beating Seton Hall. Then you had the A&M game against Auburn. How about this one, though? You didn't hear about this one. And it's not really a big game, but this is indicative and emblematic of the way college basketball has gone. Wyoming plays at Colorado State last night. Wyoming is 7-23 going into the game. 7-23 of 30 games. They've only won 7 games, and they beat Colorado State, who was 20-11.
Was that a tournament game or on campus?
Well, it was a Mountain West game. It was.
I think they've started their tournament already, if I'm not mistaken.
Could be. Yeah. So Mississippi State's 1 game in the loss column behind
So is
Florida.
South Carolina.
And South Carolina's 10-7. So those 2 teams will be playing this weekend. Florida has Kentucky, very difficult game. Mississippi State plays Mississippi at home. You would expect perhaps they win that game at home. So really, we don't know anything until the weekend.
You can't just keep Mississippi State in the hunt here. South Carolina has a chance to move up as well.
But Mississippi State and South Carolina split this year, so I don't know who has a tiebreaker there. So but as far as the Gators go, right, we lost to Mississippi State. So I'm thinking that if they have the same record, that would be your first tiebreaker. I don't know that, but I'm pretty sure that's it. I would be shocked if it wasn't, but and I wouldn't understand it if it wasn't. But there's Mississippi State at 10-7 and Florida at 11-6. Florida firmly entrenched is right now, they think, a 9 seed in the NCAA tournament. I'm hoping that's not the case. I'd like them to be above 8. You don't want to be 8 or 9. We know why, because in the second round, if you win your first round game, you're playing the number 1 seed. So you want to try to get to 7. That's the highest maybe Florida could get to at this point with a couple wins in the SEC tournament, and maybe even higher. But as we stand right now, I saw a graphic that said Lenardi's got Florida at 9, and of course has Georgia not in the picture. But 9 would be tough, because then you'd have to play an 8 and then a 1.
Yep, and I think I misspoke. Florida baseball's 13-0. I may have said 12.
Well, they went 12-0 when they won.
We got a text here
from
the Titan MRI text line from Daryl. Daryl says, "Good morning, guys. A nice win on the road last night.
Daryl.
Keontae Johnson is turning into a leader for this team. I thought the flagrant foul on him late in the game was horrible. The ball was clearly going out of bounds. Also, not letting Edwards take the game over was key too. That was a terrible call.
That was a bad call, and it was a terrible pass. The guy made a bad pass, and so." But listen, I think it all worked out great for Florida. The way they played that second half is the way, if you could put together 2 halves and play like that, they could do some damage in the postseason.
Well, yeah, I mean it's true, but it's like I think every school, every fan can say that about their teams. I mean,
I know, but we don't follow every team, QB.
Yeah,
we follow
but
the,
if you
the
watch,
Gators.
If you watch basketball, every team goes through stretches. The other team's going to make runs. That's just how basketball works.
Okay.
Don't forget, at 8:30, we're going to have Kevin Carter, UF Hall of Famer,
oh, man.
Super Bowl champion with the Rams. Got a lot of good stuff. We'll be asking him.
St. Louis Ram.
Also last night, Virginia and FSU had good comebacks to win on the road by 2, both of them by 2. Man, Virginia is still in the hunt. And don't sleep on the Creighton Blue Jays. I'm telling you right now.
I will not
sleep. The Creighton Blue Jays will make some noise in March Madness. I will not sleep
on the Creighton Blue Jays. That team is dangerous. Now, Florida State, you bring them up, and, we've talked about how good and athletic they are and how they're probably going to win the regular season ACC title. Okay. So it'd be the 1 seed in the tournament. Would it shock you if they lost their first game in that tournament? Because, they play some close games, and they seem to be really good in Tallahassee, but then they hit the road, and, sometimes they're great, sometimes they're average, and then sometimes they just stink. So I like Florida State. I think they're a 2 seed right now if you open up the tournament. and seeded them. We have a week to go before that happens because we have to watch the conference tournaments transpire. But QB, what about Florida State? Is that a team that you would say, okay, here's $10, I'm putting on them to win the whole thing?
They have as good a chance as anyone out there, and it would not shock me if they. I think they're probably going to win the ACC regular season. I'm not sure how. There are probably a bunch of tiebreakers there as well. If they win the ACC tournament, I think they'll jump ahead of a Gonzaga or a San Diego State as the 1 seed. I really do.
Okay. Well,
I think they're talented.
I don't think
man.
that's a big reach.
They're long. And they get after it.
But I mean, they beat Notre Dame by 2 and had to come back last night.
It was on the road.
I get it. I know that. But Notre Dame is a bubble at best.
Okay.
I mean, all I'm saying is
Auburn, who is firmly in the tournament,
I guess this is the point.
Got blown out. The score was not even close.
I got it. What I'm going to say is that in this season, we don't have Zion. We don't have Trae Young.
Well, Zion. What good does Zion do?
Let me make my point. We don't have the players that ESPN focuses on every night on their highlight reel, and the one guy that can take over a game in any given moment on any team right now. I don't know one player who that is.
Okay, but here's my point.
Maybe it's that kid at Dayton, but I don't know about
Obi
Dayton
Toppin?
yet. Maybe. Yeah. But this year, the parity of college basketball is widespread, and really, with all of the upsets that we have just about on a weekly basis, how do you know, really, when you're going through your brackets in a week from now, whether the 5 or the 12, and usually the 12 beats a 5, but it's really going to be tough to pick.
It's going to be very tough. That's why anybody can win it. But my point is, what good did Zion do Duke last year? None. Nothing. Because they didn't win it.
Well, only one team can win it, QB. But right. Zion Duke was better with him than they are this year without him. And I certainly think that one player that takes over a game is not in the conversation this year, except for maybe that kid at Dayton. And I don't know how good Dayton is.
There's another kid that I'm not sure. You can ask. We can figure it out here in a minute. But the best player in the country is a kid named Marcus Howard out of Marquette.
I thought you said Anthony Edwards was the best player in the country.
No, I did not. I said he's going to be the number 1 pick. I didn't say he was the best player.
So
the best player in the country is in Marquette. And his name is Marcus Howard. He's leading the nation in scoring.
So why isn't he the number 1 pick in the NBA draft?
Because he's not real big, JC. Just because you're the best player in the country and the top scorer doesn't mean you're going to be a great NBA player.
If I'm the NBA, wouldn't I want to take the best player?
You asked me the best player in college basketball right now.
Yeah.
It's Marcus Howard.
I'm going to go with that kid at Georgia or Dayton.
Okay. Well, you're not talking about the best college player. You're talking about the most potential for the NBA. It's 2 different things.
All right. I don't care. I just think that Marquette is irrelevant.
They're probably going to make the tournament, and you'll get to see.
So will 63 other teams, QB. But you're not going to sit there worrying about Vermont. So I just guess that.
Okay, well, he's the Big East all-time leading scorer.
That's good, but the Big East is a different conference today than it was in the past. We all know that.
I don't know about that.
Well, of course it is. There are teams that are not in the Big East that used to be in the Big East.
Like who?
I don't know, but they're a different conference.
That's a pretty good basketball conference.
Wasn't Boston College once in the Big East?
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry. Syracuse and Pittsburgh.
Ooh.
Who are they? Oh, I don't know. They're always in the tournament.
Pittsburgh
Syracuse
is?
for sure.
Syracuse. Okay. Well, anyway, we're going to go to our segment here. With our man Jack Daly. We're going to let y'all. But you asked Jack Daly about Marcus Howard.
Well,
he knows all about
I'm going to ask Jack Daly for some winners is what I want because Jackie Spreads is back after an inauspicious debut.
This week. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do our play of the day first.
All right.
We're going to do our play of the day, and it's actually a player of the day.
Trust is working on it.
And it is brought to you by the Area Rug Masters, your number 1 choice of all your area rug cleaning services. And it's Luka Doncic. He is by far he
Talk.
I am going to talk. I was laughing at something here. Right. Luka Doncic has another triple-double last night. He broke the Mavericks record for triple-doubles.
Look at that.
Most career triple-doubles before turning 21. He has 22. Magic Johnson has 7. LeBron had 5. So I'm just telling you right now, he's the most talented player in the National Basketball Association. And if I was going to start a franchise, Luka Doncic would be my guy.
And then you would draft a kid from Marquette.
Yes, and he'd be my point guard.
Although Anthony Edwards is going to be the first pick.
But he's not a point guard. And if I have Luka Doncic, I don't need Anthony Edwards.
Okay. All right, sit down. Well, Dallas is not going to get the first pick anyway. All right. Here he is, baby. Squeeze in here. Look, there goes the QB. Goodbye, QB. You're out of here. There he goes. Do I use yours or this one? All right. Man. Oh wow. Man, listen, Jackie Spreads, you gotta just wipe off that debut of Maryland getting points.
You can't win them all. Okay, even the Warriors went 73-9 that one year, and you just can't go 82-0. Giannis said it best last week when they lost.
I like it.
You can't win them all. And here we are. We're not going to stop. We're not going to stop trying, and we're not going to stop winning.
So you realize I went 1-0-1, right? So that's how we're going to keep a record here. Jackie Spreads. So, all right, let's get two winners. Or what do you got?
So tonight's board is extremely weak. Yesterday's board was awesome.
You don't have to pick tonight's. You can pick tomorrow.
See, the lines aren't out though.
That's a good point.
All right. Lines aren't out. It's tough.
You're right.
You know, you can take money lines, but what's the fun in that? I might as well sit here and just pick winners on winners. You know.
All right.
So
what do we got?
My spreads tonight. I got the Clippers. They're -1 in Houston.
All right, Clippers.
The Clippers have been playing great lately. They've been actually trying, and this year people are saying, "Oh, the Clippers, maybe they're not that good." Well, they beat the Lakers every time they play them. I think they've lost like 3 to 5 games with George and Kawhi both in the lineup. They got -1 tonight in Houston.
Okay.
Houston's. That team, I mean, they're very interesting. They're very fun to watch. But the size thing and Kawhi Leonard, you know, they're playing Robert Covington at center. Kawhi Leonard's better at doing Robert Covington's job than Robert Covington. So I got them -1. They're red hot. They just beat the crap out of the Thunder. Clippers -1 tonight. That's my first play.
Okay, Clippers -1. My first play will be in hockey. I'm taking the New York Islanders -160 at Ottawa. Team that's playing it out. The Islanders trying to get a wild card position in the Eastern Conference of the National Hockey League. I think they're currently in the 8th or 7th position, which means as one of the 2 wild cards, they would play one of the 2 division winners, which currently right now, if the season ended, would be the Boston Bruins or the Washington Capitals. So give me the New York Islanders laying 160, which means that if you wanted to win $50, you'd have to bet 80. If you wanted to win $100, you'd have to bet 160. If you wanted to win $10, you'd have to bet 60. So give me the New York Islanders as a big favorite, but at Ottawa, a team that doesn't have any potential this year. Go ahead.
JC with a big road favorite. Very risky after going with a home dog on Monday.
That was in basketball.
On Tuesday, rather.
Yeah. Basketball or hockey.
Second pick. I got Arizona State. They're -6 at home against Washington tonight.
I like that one.
Arizona State's won 7 in a row. Bobby Hurley is, all the Hurley brothers, they're all coaching now, and they're all winners. I mean, those guys just flat out win. Washington is a team who peaked in the very first game of the season when they somehow beat Baylor. They're 13-16. I don't know what their Pac-12 record is, but in a conference that's not that strong, 13-16 isn't going to get it done. -6 at home, Arizona State, won 7 in a row.
Right.
Still kind of on the bubble, kind of bulging themselves off of the bubble and into the tournament picture. But right now, Arizona State can't afford to lose this game. I think they come out hot, they come out strong, and they win by 6+. Arizona State -6, second play.
All right, so Arizona State Sun Devils. My second pick will be in the Big Ten in basketball tonight, college basketball. Illinois is playing at Ohio State. They have identical records. Illinois is ranked 23rd. Ohio State's ranked 19th. And typically, I would take the Illini getting 6. But in this case, I'm going to root for both of them, Jackie. I'm going to root for both of them and go over 132.
Hammer.
I see a 70-65 type game. 135 is the number my models have come up with. Is 135, 70-65. Ohio State wins by 5, which means if you took Illinois with the 6, you'd probably win. But that number will change likely. But the total pretty much sticks. Give me over 132, the Illini and the Buckeyes in Columbus, Ohio. Big win for Ohio State the other night. They won a big game at home, but they've been kind of struggling toward the end of the year, and we really haven't talked about them much. Illinois is trying to get themselves seated properly in the NCAA tournament. Pretty good team. And, really in the Big Ten, it's kind of a toss-up every night. I do think the home teams have an advantage, but we saw what happened with Michigan and State and Penn State the other night in State College. Michigan State beats them handily. The road teams in the Big Ten are capable. That's why they're going to go deep in the tournament. I think many of their teams will. And so give me the over 132.
Here's the thing, real quick, before I get out of your guys' hair about the Big Ten is they're so deep this year. And, home teams have been great, and the spread is impossible to pick. I shouldn't have went 2 Big Ten games in my debut. It was a mistake. Over. It's over.
Airplanes don't have rear view mirrors, Jackie.
I went 3-0-1 last night. Unfortunately, I didn't get to give my picks, but I loved the board last night. I don't like the board as much tonight. We're going to stay safe, hammer the Clippers, hammer the Sun Devils. Let's win. Have a good day.
Give me the Islanders and the over in Illinois.
Time out! All right. Time out! Hey! Time out! Time out! Time out! There we go. Good.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Let's give them something to cheer for now.
Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security, small enough to serve you, large enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Gators Dockside, wings, ribs, seafood, and beer. Area Rug Masters, your number one choice for rug cleaning. And Pound Hurt, preferred personal injury attorneys.
Our touchdown sponsors are Radware Promotional Materials, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker M.M. Parrish, Gator BTW, Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, Miapa Latin Cafe, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Okita America Martial Arts and After School, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, The Keys Grill and Piano Bar, UF Mover Guys, The Digital Mortgage Guy, Adams Ribs, Cloud9 Spa, Wrap Spot, Coldstone Creamery, Gator Dominoes, Celebration Primary Care, Center State Bank.
If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click on the Advertise button or call Freddie Wiebe at 352-284-3733.
Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Looking, still looking. He's going for the end zone. He's got a touchdown.
Welcome back to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. At Center State Bank, we put business first. We are the largest community bank in the state of Florida. Center State has 5 convenient Alachua County locations to serve you better. Come in and experience the Center State difference. To learn more, visit centerstatebank.com. Center State Bank, member FDIC.
So, Kiwi, what'd you think of that segment we just had with Jackie Spreads?
It was good. I was busy texting someone, so I didn't really hear it all.
Well, what he took were the Clippers laying 1 and Arizona State at home tonight in college basketball laying 6. And I took the over in Illinois and Ohio State 132 and the New York Islanders in hockey. At Ottawa, laying 160. So I explained what that meant, and I think the segment is going to be a hit. I really like the way he rolls in here, prepared to go and ready to fire, okay?
Preparation.
He's ready to fire, but he knows what he's going to do. He knows what he's talking about because he's got facts to back up his picks. He's not just out there playing the lottery, which is worse than anything I've ever seen a state do for its citizens. And so there you have, I'm just telling you, that is a horrible thing. And yet, we have great picks here. And I would be shocked if we don't see a 4-0 night tonight.
All right, well,
Pretty
good luck.
soon we're going to have, who's going to sponsor that segment? Somebody's going to sponsor that segment. It's great stuff. Last night, just recap, we had some upsets in basketball, but the Gators with a big win. You know, the Gators right now, QB, since we're talking about odds and gambling and so forth, would be 80-1 odds to win the national championship. 80-1. Wouldn't that be worth a couple bucks, $2? And, you know, there's another team that I look at these odds to win the national title that I wouldn't really be too upset about taking, and that would be somebody like if I had to take these huge underdogs. Look at BYU at 60-1, a team that is capable of playing a team that beat San Diego State, I believe. And then Rutgers is 300-1. They beat Maryland the other night. I don't know. It's college basketball. I know you blow it off. That's fine. But on any given night, right? March Madness. What is the definition of March Madness to you?
Those teams ain't winning.
What is the definition of March Madness to you?
Craziness happens, last-second shots, upsets, but there's about 10 to 15 teams that have a chance of winning.
Okay. Well, I don't know why the other.
Well, you don't even know who the hell Marcus Howard is.
I don't know why the other 40 teams are showing up, QB. I mean, just forget it, right?
Well, okay, so you just said Vermont. Who cares about Vermont? They're going to get beat.
About Vermont, but they're going to be in the tournament.
Maryland, Baltimore County. How long are they going to last?
Well, who beat Duke? Who beat? Sometimes we've had some seeds go down.
Yes.
All right. Susan says, "Great job on Facebook Live. Great job, Jackie Spreads."
Yeah, and for next week on Monday, Dan Cross is going to join me in studio. He'll be in town doing some stuff, so we're going to talk March Madness, SEC tournament, and then also on Tuesday we're going to have Chris Leak join us, JC.
Chris Leak
via the Titan MRI hotline.
Yeah, national championship winning quarterback. And that 2016 will always be special.
One of our Facebook Live comments here brought to you by Pound Hurt, your preferred personal injury attorneys. Susan Donovan says, great job, Jackie Spreads.
That's what I just read.
Oh, you did? I was too busy.
QB.
I got so much stuff to read here, my man.
Not only did he just miss the segment with Jackie Spreads, he's out here forgetting what the...
Well, I was trying to get him to scroll down where I can see them all.
When you're up at the line of scrimmage, I just got to ask you this. You're up at the line of
there
scrimmage.
There we go.
We got Tennessee fans going nuts, 102,000 fans. You got 11 guys trying to coordinate at the same time. How do you make all that happen and then sit there and miss Jackie Spreads?
I didn't miss. I heard it. I was texting.
You just didn't know what he said.
No, I heard what he said.
Well, okay, so how do you...
Some of what he said.
Well... Thank you for the kind words there, Susan, and thank you to everybody who contributes there on Facebook Live. You know, one of the things I want to ask Kevin Carter when he rolls in here in about 5 minutes while he's on the phone on the Titan MRI hotline is, you know, football in St. Louis being taken away from that city with the Rams moving back to L.A. How excited does he think the folks in St. Louis are actually for these Battlehawks they have in the XFL? You know, they
he doesn't live there, so
I know,
he's not
but he knows
know.
St. Louis, and he knows the fan base there. And so, I don't know, maybe that's not an important question, but I'm interested in it because the Rams are my team, and they won the Super Bowl playing in St. Louis, should have won 2, and I just think that that city deserves better than what it gets, and I was... You know, in spite of the fact that they beat my Bruins in hockey last year for the Stanley Cup, I was kind of happy for the Blues because they've always had to look up to the Detroit Red Wings and Chicago Blackhawks. And there they are winning the Stanley Cup in the 7th game in Boston, you know, one of the original 8 franchises.
Well, we'll see. We need to go out and let our audience know the Florida Golf Swing has started on the PGA Tour there in Orlando at Bay Hill, the Arnold Palmer Invitational. We're going to give you, we've already done our alternating picks, but I'm going to read them on air right now so people know. JC has Tony Finau, Justin Rose, Adam Scott, Henrik Stenson, and Charlie Hoffman. Yeah. I have Rory McIlroy, Ricky Fowler, Brooks Koepka, Jason Day, and Francesco Molinari.
Just go with chalk there, QB.
And you didn't.
You really step out on a
limb. You didn't.
Charlie Hoffman?
Well, I have Molinari.
He who only won the U.S. Open like not very long ago.
Well, you chose to choose him, so don't blame me.
Yeah, you really like step out on the limb there, QB. I got Rory. I got Brooks.
Hey,
I mean,
you had your
favorites.
You had
go with favorites.
You had the opportunity to pick
added
them.
value. Let's just take favorites. Give me a name that nobody's talking about that could end up winning this thing, like Piercy, Scott Piercy.
How about what's the guy? BM.
BM.
You know what I'm talking about?
What's he talking about?
The I am. He's playing good golf. I forgot his name. I can't pronounce it.
BM and I am.
Hang on. Do you know who I'm talking about? I'm going to pull it up right now.
Obviously, he's a Korean, right?
Yes. Last name is I am. The letter I, the letter M.
Is that how you pronounce his name?
I don't know how you pronounce it.
But that's that's your dog pick of the week.
Yes.
It's South Korean whose name you can't pick.
Or maybe it was. Which one is it, JC? Isn't there a Ben On? Yeah, that's him right there. I don't know if I want him. No, that's not the one I want. I want him.
Pick a Korean.
Right here.
Just roll the dice. All right.
Okay, you pronounce it.
Unan. Byung Unan. H-U-N.
He goes by B-On.
Okay.
They just call B for his first name and H-A-N. B-On.
All right, he's your guy. Let's keep track of him.
My South Korean. But my point is, there's no chalking on the PGA Tour. Everybody is good.
No, that's right. I mean, you got Dustin Johnson, Ricky Fowler, Rory McIlroy. They're not any good. Adam Scott. Did I pick Adam Scott?
Yeah, okay. Yeah. You have Justin Rose, who's won multiple majors. You have Adam Scott, Stenson, who's won British Opens. So whatever.
He's won one.
All right, we're going to take our second time out here. We got to get Kevin Carter on the phone, and we're going to talk a little Rams football, Gator football, Titan football, a little bit of everything. We'll be right back here watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the morning.
Time out! Time out! Hey! Time out! Time out! Time out! There we go. Good.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Let's give them something to cheer for now.
Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security, small enough to serve you, large enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Gators Dockside, wings, ribs, seafood, and beer. Area Rug Masters, your number one choice for rug cleaning. And Pound Hurt, preferred personal injury attorneys.
Our touchdown sponsors are Radware Promotional Materials, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Gator BTW, Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, Miapa Latin Cafe, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Okita America Martial Arts and After School, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, The Keys Grill and Piano Bar, UF Mover Guys, The Digital Mortgage Guy, Adams Ribs, Cloud9 Spa, Wrap Spot, Coldstone Creamery, Gator Dominoes, Celebration Primary Care, Center State Bank.
If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click on the Advertise button or call Freddie Wiebe at 352-284-3733.
Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Looking, still looking. He's going for the end zone. He's got a touchdown.
Welcome back to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. We're trying to get a hold of Kevin Carter.
While you do that, QB, let me just give folks a rundown of some of the things he's accomplished in his illustrious career, and it is, Florida Gator from 91 to 94. He won or was a part of 3 SEC championship teams under Coach Spurrier in 91, 93, 94, and he won the Super Bowl. It was Super Bowl 34. That was in Atlanta. As the Rams of St. Louis beat the Tennessee Titans. 2-time Pro Bowl in 99 and 2002. And that 99 year, I'm sure, is one that he'll always know and remember. That was the year he was not only a Super Bowl winner, but he was an All-Pro and the NFL sacks leader, QB. Mm-hmm. He played as the Rookie of the Year in 95, but in that 99 year, as I just mentioned, he had everything, All-Pro and so forth. He was an NFL first-round pick coming out of Florida. He played for 14 years. So this guy had endurance. I mean, that's tough for a lineman to play 14 years, I would guess. I don't know, maybe not.
Well,
but
he was a tremendous player. Tremendous player. Celebration Point is where the Gators come to celebrate with premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Nike, Palmetto Moon, Regal Cinemas, and coming soon, HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. We will see you at Celebration Point where the Gators come to celebrate. And we're going to get him here shortly.
Yeah,
and in the meantime, JC, I would like for you to bring up what we were talking and discussing and arguing about before the show about how you talking about if the NCAA determines that no fans can go to the games in March Madness, will people care and will the players play hard?
Here's the thing. That would be a pretty draconian. Another word of the day for you, Taylor. Draconian. Do you know what that means?
I have no idea
that
and don't really care.
I'm trying to help you here. Draconian move, meaning it would be extreme. And that would be off the fear of the coronavirus. And everybody here is reacting to the coronavirus. Excessively harsh or severe is draconian.
Okay. Draconian.
Thank you.
There we go.
Draconian.
That's it. And that's important. So we'll talk to Kevin.
We're going to...
I want to get back to that.
We will get back to that.
Chance.
Kevin Carter's going to join us now on the Titan MR hotline. Kevin, you got Shane Matthews and John Cornell. How you doing, my man?
Doing great. How are you?
Doing great. Kevin Carter, UF Hall of Famer, Super Bowl champ, 14-year career. First pick of the Rams, CBS sports football analyst. He's got all kinds of stuff going on.
Gracious.
Kevin, let everybody kind of know what you're doing now, and then we'll talk a little bit about your Gator career.
The last 2 years, I've been the resident studio analyst for college football for CBS Sports on Saturdays. Do some studio shows during the week, and occasionally I'm a guest contributor on the NFL stuff as well. But that's what I've been doing the last 2 years. Before that, the last 6 years before that, I was with ESPNU doing pretty much the same thing. So I'm kind of a sit behind the desk, pregame, halftime report, and postgame wrap up person. So, but it gives me a chance to stay close to the game and really stay plugged in and watch damn near every game on Saturday.
Kevin, let's go back 20 plus years. Young man coming out of Tallahassee. What made you choose to be a Gator?
Big part of it was what Steve Spurrier had going on and what he was building. Obviously hindsight is a perfect science right now. I can look back on that time and say that it was a great decision, and obviously that Steve Spurrier was a great man, but I didn't know that at the time. I just knew that I liked what he was building. I liked what you guys had accomplished in 1990, and I liked I just liked what I saw, and he represented the future and direction that I wanted to go and how I wanted to pursue my college football career, and it just. For me, academically, it was a good school, and the Gator Nation is strong. But Steve Spurrier and meeting all the guys really made all the difference in the world.
Well, and certainly, Kevin, John Cornell here. Florida State had that reputation as quite a defense under Mickey Andrews, and they were really probably hot after you as well. What was it I know you said Steve Spurrier, but how hard did Florida State come after you, and why didn't you decide that maybe home was the place to stay under Bobby Bowden and that staff you had there?
You know what? I think people look at their future and look at playing football, and they think they have a crystal ball, and I think everyone thinks they can, see, oh, you should go here because this is the best football place or this is the best place. At 17 years old, when you're a kid, the world is so big, and for me, I'm looking at all these symbols and universities and what they stand for, and what they're all about, and for me. I grew up in Tallahassee. I was very familiar with Florida State, and Bobby Bowden is a great man. Mickey Andrews is an exceptional coach. I mean, so many great, talented people have come through there, but it just, for me, I didn't feel like I would be growing up or I'd be getting away and kind of discovering planting my own seeds if I didn't get out of my hometown. Yeah. And so it was a big temptation to go there. It was a great football program. But, they didn't have what I wanted to major in. I wanted to major in something in the medical field. And, who knew that I was going to go on and play 14 years in the NFL. Right. But at the time, I was planning for my future. And for me, it came down between Florida and Notre Dame were my final two choices. So Lou Holtz and Steve Spurrier. And the rest is history.
That's right.
Kevin, what's the story? I remember it vaguely. Were you not playing football and you were in the band and somebody talked you into playing football, or you were playing football and you would play at halftime? I can't remember the whole story about the high school band deal. Can you fill us in on that?
Well, I always wanted to play football, but the truth is my freshman year, I went to a big public high school, Lincoln High School in Tallahassee. Yeah. And at the time, they had the way they had it kind of structured as, we had cuts, because they couldn't field all the kids. They didn't have enough equipment for all the kids that wanted to play. And my freshman year, I went out for my JV football and basketball team and didn't make either one of them. So I ended up staying in the band and marching, playing saxophone. And that's how I got on the field my freshman year.
Is that when you started growing in high school? When did you really hit that growth spurt? Was it?
Well, that was it. Between my freshman and sophomore, like my sophomore year, I think I grew the entire year. I felt like crap. I had mono. I thought I had mono.
Oh, boy.
I felt, I was just constant pain, discomfort, and I was just stretching out. By the time the spring of my sophomore year came around, and that's when I started playing football, I was 6'3.5", 6'4".
We have a Facebook Live question for you, brought to you by Pound Hurt, your preferred personal injury attorneys. It's from Todd. He says, great show, guys. Ask Kevin what is one of his favorite plays or games while playing for the Gators.
Oh, man. Probably one of my favorite games is, so many great games at the Swamp. Just so many memorable moments. Even in losses. I remember in '93 playing FSU there at home. That was one of my favorite games, just to playing against Charlie Ward there. But I think one of my favorite wins that we had was actually on the road in Knoxville my senior year. We went up there, and they had this mammoth offensive line, Jason Lehman, Leslie Ratliff, all these big guys. and they were saying how they were going to manhandle, me and Ellis and Henry McMillan and push us around, and James Little Man Stewart's going to have all these yards and all this stuff, and man, we went in there and kicked the crap out of them and beat them 31-0 in their own stadium my senior year. It was great.
Well, I mean, that year, that whole tenure, 3 SEC championships while you were a Florida Gator, and what a tenure you had. I mean, you really did hit the timing right with the coach and the defense that you guys had. And sometimes I think the defense, Kevin, gets overlooked at how great it was under Coach Spurrier because, everybody was focused on Shane and Danny and everybody scoring points. But you moved on to the NFL, and where you mentioned previously you had quite a long career there in the NFL, playing with St. Louis and Tennessee and the Miami Dolphins and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but most notably for the St. Louis Rams, who, by the way, and not that you would care, but I love the Rams. I've always been a Rams fan, grew up as an LA Rams fan, and they won it in St. Louis, ironically, and there you are playing in the Georgia Dome for the Super Bowl. Give us some things that stick out in your mind. Obviously, the last play of the game when McNair hit that receiver, and I think it was Mike Davis or somebody that made the tackle on the 1-yard line, and you were on the field at that moment when the balloon started flying and the game ended. But other than that one moment, Kevin, can you single out some of the other plays or some of the other things that you recall from your experience as a Ram in the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I remember probably the first 5 minutes of the game. I think I made probably 50 mental errors. I was out there so excited, running around, and I remember coming to the sideline, and Coach Vermeil, my defensive line coach at the time, Carl Harrison, Big Daddy, he said, "Just relax and play football." Yeah. He's like, you guys are so excited, and it's the biggest game of your life, and everyone's just playing so sloppy. The first 3 minutes of the game were so sloppy all over the place, and I remember just settling down finally and playing the game. And I remember trying to sack Steve McNair was probably one of the hardest things to do that day. I remember I made the mistake of going low on him, and he stiff-armed me, and he separated my left shoulder by stiff-arming me in the Super Bowl, and he was that strong. So great game, surreal memories. I mean, as the years go by, it means more and more and more. So just a memorable time in my life.
And it had to be tough also to deal with Eddie George. I mean, that guy was another monster on the field. You guys in Tennessee had a great Super Bowl. It was not a high-scoring game like we thought, but, man, I can imagine how physical it must have been with Eddie George running around.
Well, yeah. I mean, Eddie George is, 250 at the time. Crazy. He's got Lorenzo Neal in front of him that's 260. I mean, that's not even really fair. I mean, you're not supposed to have that kind of meat in your backfield.
Yeah,
so.
It's a great game. Well, St. Louis, and adding to that, St. Louis lost their Rams, so they moved back to Los Angeles. I don't know if your affinity for St. Louis, I don't know what that might be. You could share that with us. But now they have a little XFL team there, and the fans are coming out to watch. So I think the fan base misses football. Do you have any affinity for or special things about the fans of St. Louis that they lose a team again, second time it happened?
Yeah, I really feel bad for them. I mean, just there are a lot of people there that are a lot of great fans there in the Midwest. I mean, St. Louis is one of those places that's an old sports town, and it has a history, has such great men that have come through and been there. Yeah. People like Ozzie Smith and Dan Deerdorf and Jim Hart. Yeah, Bob Gibson. I mean, just great people who have really enriched the city through accomplishing so much, on their athletic fields. And it's really a shame that they don't have a football team. I mean, obviously the Cardinals, I don't think a baseball team are never going anywhere. No. But football-wise, they really have had their bad luck with teams coming and going. But I can say this. The time that I was there in St. Louis, the fans were nothing but nice to us. Mm-hmm. They supported us. I mean, you came into St. Louis to play us on that old AstroTurf. Mm-hmm. The old Trans World Dome was a rocket.
Yeah,
so,
TWA Dome.
Had fond memories of that time in my life. I was 22 years old, newly married, and a rookie, little kid from Florida, living in St. Louis. It was a wonderful time. Great place.
Do you keep up with Marshall or Kurt or Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt, any of those old players? Do you stay in contact with them, and how are they doing?
Well, social media is a great thing. You can catch up with a lot of people and a lot of guys. The good thing about that team, obviously we had a lot of success, but I think Coach Vermeil did a great job of building and really empowering great men from that team as well. When I look at that team, I look at the guys you mentioned, the Marshall Falks, the Kurt Warners, the Torrey Holtz, the Isaac Bruce. They're all doing great things, they both charity-wise and professionally. But then you go on and you see Orlando Pace, and you see there's a list of guys that are still doing great things outside of those guys. I mean, Cliff Crosby. There's just the names go on and on of guys who are doing great things from that team, but they're all good people as well. So I actually keep up with a lot of those guys because we've had a couple of guys go into the Hall of Fame, and when Kurt went in, I mean, everybody was there. I mean, when Orlando went in, I mean, it was huge. And now that Isaac's in, I mean, it's just been basically we basically had our Super Bowl reunions in Canton every year. So
that's pretty cool.
Awesome. Greatest show on turf.
Kevin, I got a text here on the Titan MR text line. Julie asks, can you ask Kevin, does he have a great Spurrier story he can share?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I think everybody's heard, when he's been in practice and he takes his shirt off and he gets pissed off at Shane or Danny, whoever's running the offense, and he decides to run it himself. Yeah. So I won't tell that kind of story, but I will tell this story. I remember we were kind of having some issues with letting people score too much, even though we were still winning. But we were having some issues on defense, and Coach Spurrier came to watch film in the defensive room with us. And that is something you don't ever want Coach Spurrier to come do, is come watch film in your room. Yeah. And I remember that day, him coming in and watching the film and just dissecting every single detail on the film and calling out every person on the field. I mean, from me to Larry Kennedy to Ellis Johnson. I mean, we were just basically just being railed in there by Coach Spurrier. Oh. And that pretty much took care of the defensive problems. We didn't have any problems after that because we didn't want that kind of scrutiny, the kind of microscope on what we were doing. I mean, it was the darndest thing. I remember Coach Strong and everybody else, they warned us. Coach Collins, they were all like, hey, he's coming over here today, so you guys get ready. And we didn't know what to expect, but it was a treat.
No doubt. We got another Facebook Live question brought to you by Pound Hurt, your preferred personal injury attorneys. Fred asked, what were the differences and similarities between Coach Spurrier and Coach Vermeil?
You know what? They both on the outside wouldn't appear that they're very much the same. They're both great men, but they were very much alike. They both cared a lot. They both cared about you as an individual and how you carried yourself as a man. They thought that, they were old school. They both thought that how you carried yourself as a man and what your daily habits were, who you were, affected who you were on the field and the identity of the culture you were forming. And I love that about the two of them. It was, when you're a kid or you're a young professional athlete, that's somewhat of a safe place that you can trust as an athlete. It's simple. You come here, you do your job, you give all that you have, and you're respected and you're valued for it. And I really like the fact that I was a part of, two very storybook type experiences with a coaching and with a culture and with a team. I mean, two great men that forged great cultures where everyone truly believed that their contribution to the game was truly the difference between winning and losing. And, that's when you have a great team, and that's when you have a great coach, because everyone is sold on giving that contribution, no matter how big or how small. And obviously, with both coaches, won championships, 3 SEC championships in college with Coach Spurrier, a world championship within 3 years, him promising that the day he walked in to the Rams organization, saying in 3 years we'll be world champs. I don't know if everyone will be here in this room, but in 3 years, this team will be world champs. And, he had magic, and he had destiny, and he basically told us what we were going to do before we did it. The same thing, just like Coach Spurrier. I mean, when I got there in 1991, you guys had won the SEC, and things were different. People were excited. The offense was galvanized. Defense had always had talent, but couldn't put it all together on both sides of the ball. And he said, we're going to win. We're going to win championships. We're going to start with the SEC, and we're going to go on from there. We started dominating the SEC in the early 90s, and I think it carried on. And I tell people, look, I don't have a national championship ring, but because I'm part of that big Gator F on the field, that Letterman, I'm part of that fraternity. I know that we laid the groundwork for what they did in '96.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Kevin, last thing, we got a couple more questions here. We're speaking with Kevin Carter on the Titan MRI hotline. You're really involved with a bunch of charity work. You have your celebrity waiter event in Nashville called Waiting for Wishes. Talk briefly about that and what it means to you.
19 years in the making, the 19th annual Kevin Carter Waiting for Wishes Celebrity Waiters Dinner. My co-host is Jay DeMarcus from Rascal Flatts. Basically, we throw one of the biggest and best parties in Nashville every single spring. We get about 50 of our favorite artists, country artists, actors, and celebrities from all walks of fame. We've got UFC fighters, we've got professional boxers, we've got actors, we've got basically figure skaters. We've had the Olympic curling team. We have people from Bachelor, Bachelorette. We have different reality shows that are there. We have all different types of celebrities that are there. And basically, they come out to wait tables for our patrons. And basically, through this event, and since we have so many musical guests, we do an after party afterwards, which is called Jamming with Jay DeMarcus and Friends. And we do that at Whiskey Row, which is Dierks Bentley's bar on Broadway in Nashville. And we do this. We've been doing this for 19 years now, and we've given nearly $3 million to Make-A-Wish Middle Tennessee. And it's one of the best things that is a true reflection of my heart, my legacy, and I'm proud to say it.
When is that again?
I'm sorry?
When is that event?
Oh, it's every spring. It's Tuesday. This year, it's Tuesday, April 14th.
Okay,
you can go to if you want to take a look at it, you can go to waitingforwishes.com or to the Kevin Carter Foundation on Facebook for more information.
Cool.
Final question. I want to get your thoughts about what Dan Mullen's done in his 2 years here, where the Gators are right now, and give us an update. You have a kid playing college football at Dartmouth.
Mm-hmm. My son is a tight end at Dartmouth. He came out to football late. He's a basketball player. He decided to come play some football and discovered that he could take to it like a duck to water. So he's really enjoying his time. Sammy McCorkle, our former Gator teammate, recruited him up at Dartmouth. His coach is Cheston Blackshear.
Oh, wow.
And he's got Coach Buddy Stevens as his head coach. So he's got they call it the Dartmouth Gators.
Yeah,
basically.
Well, you got Connor Davis. You got Connor Davis kicking the ball up there as well.
Connor Davis is his teammate. And so, we're really proud of him. Yeah, sure. Definitely.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, Kevin, real quick, your thoughts about the Gators real quick. What Dan Mullen's done.
Dan Mullen is doing a great job. When I was there a couple of years ago and I addressed the team, I looked around and first thing that I saw is we passed the eye test. We're passing the eye test as far as having dudes at every position, everywhere you look. And that type of speed and devastation physically is what you need to build a championship team. But I like the attitude. I like what Todd Grantham brings to the defense. I like, the combination of all the different attitudes that are out there. I like that basically they talk about greatness. They talk about where they're going. Looking at what, like schematically what he's done, he's regalvanized the offense. He's really empowered, the skill position players and really made Florida football exciting again to watch. And I think people are excited. And I think a lot of recruits we're seeing are wanting to be a part of what he's creating. I think, when I was there a couple of years ago, he told me himself, he says, look, we'll look better in the short term, but we're still about 2 to 3 years away. Yeah. I think that time is now.
I agree. Well, Kevin, I appreciate you joining the program, Muddy, and we'll talk to you on down the road.
We're watching you on CBS, Kevin. Thank you.
Anytime. Thanks, guys.
All right, that's the Gator great Kevin Carter.
He is.
Guy's done a lot. Yeah, he has a tremendous event up there in Nashville.
Man, he does, and what a career he had. And of course, right now you can catch him on CBS. I'm glad that you have a University of Florida guy on a show like that, and it certainly is nice to hear how he's doing. Obviously, he seems like and sounds like the same person he was back in the 90s. Mm-hmm. I mean, his voice is the same, everything. The success.
Does my voice sound the same?
No.
It doesn't?
No, you got a little bit more Mississippi going right now.
No, I don't. It was worse back then.
Oh, it was worse back then? Yeah. Okay, that's what I meant. But now, listen, I think it's great to see Kevin Carter join us here and, of course, see him on CBS. And man, what a time he had at Florida. That was the glory days for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Tomorrow, We'll recap what's going to go on the weekend. Big Kentucky game.
Yeah.
We'll have Brent Beard talking college
That's
football.
Right, Brent Beard.
May try to get someone on to talk a little recruiting because it's a big weekend on campus with some recruits
good.
coming in.
Well, Brent would probably know a lot about that as well. So that sounds like a great show to wrap up the week, folks.
Yep. So today's show is a wrap brought to you by WrapSpot. Our vehicle wrap from WrapSpot will give your business years of brand recognition and increased sales. Call WrapSpot today. We'll see you tomorrow.